Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to discuss about Gorbachev and the disintegration. The Gorbachev was the last General Secretary of USSR. So, basically, in USSR system, that General Secretary is the head, and under his leadership, the rest of the body works. So, the last General Secretary was Gorbachev. So, as earlier we mentioned and we discussed about that the people are disliking the communist party system and that Soviet system, so they're demanding that kind of one kind of reforms or a flexible way of their life, political life or economic life. So that's why Gorbachev try to do some reforms in that particular system. So he introduced two reforms in there, which is popularly known as glasnost and perestroika. Later we'll discuss what is glasnost or perestroika. So here we proceed whatever given to in your syllabus in content. I will go through that. Mikhail Gorbachev, who had become General Secretary of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union in 1985. So here Gorbachev took the responsibility of General Secretary in the year 1985. So basically, from Russia, every General Secretary is selected from the Russia. That's why the people or other continents thought that Russia is exploiting them and they want uh, colonizing them, or what they are doing exploitation of them. Sought to reform this system. Reforms were necessary to keep the USSR abreast of the information and technological revolution taking place in the West. So, as compared with West, we have discussed that USSR getting lag behind that particular system. So that's why they thought that they have to give some reforms, or they have to initiate some reforms in the system. So that's why the initiation starts by the Gorbachev. However, Gorbachev's decision to normalize relations with the West and democratize and reform the Soviet Union had some other effects that neither he nor anyone else intended or anticipated. So here, what Gorbachev wants, Gorbachev, that place between USA and West and that USSR, that USS Soviet Union, whatever the place was there and the distance between them, they wants to reduce that system. So Gorbachev try to become a flexible one and participatory one with the West and Western one. So that's why he wants to initiate that kind of reform. But his political, whoever a political party, that communist ideology peoples or that leaders, they are become disliking him, so that they are he wants to initiate a relations with that West. So this kind of works but done by him is disliking by his own political party and own supporter itself. The people in the East European countries, which were part of the Soviet bloc, started to protest against their own governments and Soviet control. So, as they are at that particular continent, whoever the east side of the Europe, which are supporting that Soviet bloc, they are become protesting against that Soviet Union and their own governments, whoever the under control of the Soviet bloc, they are protesting against them, so that they want reforms, or they want free from that kind of political system. Unlike in the past, the Soviet Union under Gorbachev did not intervene when the disturbances occurred and the communist regimes collapsed on one after another. So likewise, the different continents, the protest is going on, and in the particular wherever the protest is going on, the government is collapsed one by one, and that communist system becoming weaker one day by day. These developments were accompanied by a rapidly escalating crisis within the USSR, and that hastened its disintegration. So this kind of rapidly going changing or collapsing the government continent wise continent and the country by country, making that USSR or that particular Soviet bloc in the way of disintegration. Gorbachev initiated the policies of economic and political reform and democratization within the country. So that what reforms is done, that in Russian language it's called glasnost and perestroika, but in general it's one the economical and political reforms and the administrational reforms in their system. So democratize it, particularly try to democratize that's given the rights to the common citizens and that whatever the Western liberal society given to that kind of rights and liberty to their people, the Gorbachev also initiated that particular that particular method and that particular rule regulation under that Soviet Union. The reforms were opposed by leaders within the Communist Party. So this kind of reform, as it's against that communist ideology. That's why the political Communist Party is against that particular reforms. A coup took place in 1991 that was encouraged by Communist Party hardliners. So what a cop means like a particular political groups which are dealing with that whatever the people is following that particular capitalist or whatever the liberals whatever thoughts they are, what society is following or dealing with this kind of uh, works or that this kind of protest they within that system they wants to assassinate or they wants to domain this kind of thinking by that particular cop. The people had tasted freedom by then and did not want the old style rule of the Communist Party. Yeltsin emerged as a national hero in opposing this coup. So this kind of coup, whatever that radical that communist society, that particular coup is want to establishing within that system. So against that system, again, Boris Wilson, one opposite leader or opposite that particular communist system, he followed that capitalist system and liberal system. So he had the people and he is raising the people against or they're grouping that particular people who are having or who are disliking this cop. They are those supporters within his leadership, and he became the national hero. After that, USSR the disintegration in Russia, the independent Russia's the first president, that Boris Yeltsin. So he had that peoples to liberate from that particular communist radical system. Whatever the that cop wants to control or that suppressing that particular people, he is give that leadership or guiding that peoples to become freedom from that particular system. The Russian Republic, where Yeltsin won a popular election, began to shake off centralized control. So here that after I already mentioned that after the disintegration of Soviet Union, Boris Yeltsin become this one that who his party getting major support from that particular Russia or Russian people. So that's why he become the first president. So before that, we have to know about that in when that disintegration or that Russian system is collapsed in 1991. That's after so much protest, so much this kind of against that particular system. So the Gorbachev in 1991, Gorbachev himself with that Russia, whatever the people are in there, Russia, Ukraine, and both Belarus. What they are firstly they was the first members of that particular system, so they themselves announced that from today we are not no longer become that work with that particular Soviet bloc. So this they that in that day time, from that time 1991, the process of that Soviet bloc or socialist that bloc is collapse in that particular world politics. Power began to shift from the Soviet center to the republics, especially in the more Europeanized part of the Soviet Union, which saw themselves as sovereign states. So here all are become the republic. On 15 new republics is emerged from that particular this collapse of the Soviet Union, and they are very much found with that particular democratic system, which are they are all become follow, or they are structurized their system with that particular democratic system, or they announced themselves that sovereign one. So the Central Asian Republic did not ask for independence and wanted to remain with the Soviet Federation. So that Central Asians, those Central Asians country also supporting that kind of that Soviet Union. So they are also wants remain wants to their bloc, but because of that the Central Asian countries was very poor in that time, so that's Russia supporting them to stabilize their economy, so that's why they wants to remain with that particular bloc. In December 1991, under the leadership of Yeltsin, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, three major republics of the USSR, declared that the Soviet Union was disbanded. So the 1991, that's Boris Yeltsin Boris Yeltsin said that won that election. That's why in the leadership of Boris Yeltsin, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, that three major countries said that from today we are not no longer will work with that particular bloc, and we are independent from that particular bloc. The Communist Party of the Soviet Union was banned. So under leadership of Boris Yeltsin, the Communist Party, they banned that particular party, and they don't no longer given that political rights to that particular Communist Party. Capitalism and democracy was adopted as the basis for the post Soviet republic. So as they are disliking that communist system or socialist system, so they are again adopting that capitalism and that particular democratic system, Western liberal democratic system, and in that particular their own continents, in place of that communist or socialist system. The declaration on the disintegration of the USSR and the formation of the Commonwealth of Independent States came as a surprise to the other republics, especially to the Central Asian ones. So after they declare that the disintegration of USSR, they design a new structure under the leadership of that whatever the country getting free from that particular Soviet Union, who are following new adopting new political system in their republics. So they again themselves wants to work together with a new system, so they form a new structure or new as union, which is known as that Commonwealth of Independent States. So CIS become the new grouping of that particular republics. The exclusion of these republics was an issue that was quickly solved by the making them founding members of the CIS. So earlier that Asian country, whatever the Asian states wants to become work together with that particular Russian countries or Russia or whatever the states or country was with that particular Soviet Union, they all together wants to work again. So that's why for supporting that system, they structures this Commonwealth of Independent States. So they again they themselves supporting these Asian states to become a part of their that particular Soviet
continents. Russia was now accepted as the successor state of the Soviet Union. So Russia became the successor state of the Soviet Union. The whatever the rights authority in world politics given to that Soviet Union, all are taken by the Russia. United Nations veto power. United Nations veto power. Five countries enjoy that particular veto power. So as a successor of that Soviet Union, the whatever the veto power was with that particular Soviet Union become success or taken by that Russia. Russia accepted all international treaties and commitments of the Soviet Union, and that Russia all whatever the international relations and treaties and whatever the promises or agreements done by that Soviet Union, all are taking or getting responsible by that Russia. It took over as the only nuclear states of the post-Soviet space and carried out some nuclear disarmament measures with the US. The old Soviet Union was thus dead and buried. So now it become whatever the Soviet Union was developed that atom or nuclear power during that Cold War period. So after that disintegration, Russia become only the one who that authorized or who keeping that nuclear states or nuclear method with them, and they are declared themselves only the nuclear states after that Soviet Union. Rest of the whatever the continent or republics declare or getting freedom from that Soviet Union, they are not become the nuclear one after the disintegration.